So the first thing I'm going to sous vide is, surprise, surprise, a steak. I've got a 2-pound bone-in ribeye. This is my first time using the technique, so please bear with me. The first thing I'm doing is heating up water, so I'm filling up this tub. But as I was watching the water rise, I realized I don't need this huge thing to cook one steak. So I got a smaller pot and transferred the water over. I attached the precision cooker and added more water so the vents were fully submerged. I didn't read the book, so I was trying to figure out what the first icon was for. I thought I would be able to guess, but I had to pull the book out. The first icon is for the current temperature, and the second one is for the intended temp. I set it for 130 degrees Fahrenheit and then went to my steak. It's a really thick ribeye, so I knew this would be the perfect test to see if the sous vide method would be able to cook this evenly through. I seasoned each side generously with salt and pepper along with the edges. Next was sealing up the bad boy. I pressed the seal button and nothing beeped or made a sound, so I pressed it again and then again, but held it down. And it was sealed, so I guess there was no reason to press it so many times. Then I used the cutter to slice up the bag. And then I took another look at my steak and looked at the pot, and I realized that thing was not going to fit. I looked for a bigger pot and settled with my crock pot. And then I panicked because I didn't think the precision cooker was going to attach, but luckily it did. Into the bag, I added crushed garlic and a few sprigs of rosemary. If there's one thing I need to add to my 2022 resolutions, that is to read the instruction manuals. I'm sure that would have helped a lot in this vacuum sealing situation. It was about a minute in and I didn't notice any changes, so I tried the pulse button and that didn't help much. It's been about 4 minutes now and I was wondering what I needed to do. I opened it and moved the opening to the slot, which I assumed pulled the air. I still had to press the vacuum button like 5 times because it wasn't as tight as I wanted. After a total of 10 minutes of vacuuming, I sealed it and it was ready to go. I placed it into the water and it started floating, so I looked around my kitchen to see what I could use as a weight. I ended up using one of the mixers for my stand mixer. Now we just wait for 3 hours. I pulled it out of the pouch onto paper towel so I could pat it dry to get a nice sear. Carbon steel skillet on medium-high heat and add some vegetable oil. First thing I'm going to do is sear this fat side first. One thing I wish I did was to tie up the steak so the fat and meat would hold better together, like how Max taught me months ago. It's kind of falling apart in my hands since it's so fatty. Next was searing each side, which I did for 1.5 minutes. Then I tossed in the rosemary and garlic that were from the pouch along with some butter, and I got to basting, about a minute on each side. I pulled the steak off, and I've heard that you don't need to rest steak that's been sous vide, so I went to cutting it pretty soon after. As I started slicing into it, I was losing quite a bit of juice, so I wish I had let it rest for at least 5 minutes, but oh well. And the steak is just a tad bit overdone for my tastes. I think I should have just went for a hard sear for a minute on each side. I spent too much time basting it. Either way, the steak turned out great and I'm very happy with it. The meat was so tender, almost like a prime rib. I'm really looking forward to using the sous vide method more. I actually have an idea in mind that may or may not work, so we'll see. Also, I'll be able to cut down a bunch of cooking time now that I've learned all the kinks to using the precision cooker and vacuum sealer machine. Lastly, I added some of Matt's flaky salt and I chowed down on some steak. Thanks for watching and let me know if you have any sous vide recipes to try.